All right, so we're recording, we're all ready. And we come to the final Patthana, the final Satipatthana. This is an interesting one. This is Dhammanupassana. Just like the first one, Kayanupassana of the body, what we have here are a bunch of different frameworks for investigation and for contemplation. So the word Dhamma has a bunch of different meanings. And you may have heard this. Actually, you can even look on the mind map that I gave you. I'm using an older translation, an older understanding of mind objects. But I never kind of understood that. It always felt kind of weird. Like I said, well, what does that have to do with what's under it? And then I started to see new translations, like Bhante Analayo and Bhante Sujato. They translated it as principles. And that made more sense, because these are some of the most deep principles of the Buddhist teachings that you find under the Dhammanupassana, contemplation of principles, contemplation of Dhammas. So there's a couple. The first one is 5 hindrances. Now, 5 hindrances are things or states of mind that you can directly experience and understand and observe and investigate. They're called hindrances because their arrival blocks us from being able to get into deep states of samadhi, like the jhanas. Those of you who practice anapanasati, whose goal is to get into the jhanas so that you can see things as they are, then the hindrances are your number one learning tool, your number one area of investigation. You are to know the hindrances inside and out, how they arise, how they cease, how they both arise and cease, what you do to feed them, what you do to starve them. The Buddha uses this terminology of feeding and starving, ahara, nourishment. And so what are the 5 hindrances? Kama chanda, that's number 1. That means kama is like sensuality, pleasurable sensory experiences. Chanda is your desire, your choice, your intention. So the first hindrance is the intention to revel and seek and enjoy sensual pleasures. When you do that, that agitates the mind. Mind cannot become calm and still and enter into deep states of samadhi when it's agitated like that. Next is vyapada. This is ill will. The mind's filled with ill will and malevolence, hatred. Again, unable to get into deep states. Tinamidha, sloth and torpor, mental and physical tiredness, sleepiness, lethargy, exhaustiveness. Udacha kukucha, that's restlessness and remorse. Mind that's agitated, moving, like a monkey swinging from tree branch to tree branch. the monkey mind. And last is vicikiccha, which is doubt. Having lots of doubts about the triple gem, about the practice, about your ability to do the practice, all kinds of doubts. These 5 hindrances can be known. When you sit down to follow your breath, you practice Chittanupassana, you practice Vedananupassana, then you can see the 5 hindrances. You can observe what's going on with your mind and body. These states that are agitating the mind, clouding the mind, keeping the mind from going deeper. So these are to be understood, pajanati, understood very deeply. So when they arise, you say, oh, okay, I have sloth and torpor right now. Now, what can I do to counteract that sloth and torpor? What can I do to starve that sloth and torpor so that it goes away? And if it comes back, it's weaker, not stronger. Understanding this and taking such actions are part of this section of Satipatthana. Next is 5 aggregates. An aggregate or a khanda, it's a clump. Khanda means like a clump, things that are clumped together. Kind of like if you took, 3 or 4 different colors of Play-Doh and you just like, you watch a kid and they'll just clump it all together in a big ball. And you have this various, and you can see like, okay, this is the blue Play-Doh, this is this Play-Doh, this is that Play-Doh, but it's all clumped together. That's what the khandas are, the 5 aggregates. These are aspects that have come together to form this psychophysical organism, this mind and body. And it's these aggregates that we cling to, thereby creating an identity and creating our own suffering. So 5 aggregates are a very important part of the practice to see, to understand. Some of them are quite subtle. Some of them are really hard to observe. But we can take these on as objects of practice. Form, rupa. That's all this body is form. Vedana, feeling. Sanya, perception. How we perceive things. Often with those tinted glasses that we can't see clearly through. Sankhara. It's kamma, intentional action, intentional mental action. And vijnana, consciousness. Buddha says that if you look deep, that's all you see. And none of those 5 aggregates are me, mine, or myself. Simply processes that have come together and will eventually cease and separate. Then the next section is the 6 senses, salayatana. The Buddha calls the 6 senses the all, or the world. Why? This is because this is all that we can understand, all that we can experience. When you see the epitaph for the Buddha, knower of the worlds, it's not necessarily talking about different dimensions, different planets, different world systems, although that is part of it. It's talking about knower of these senses, knower of understanding the salayatana. And then there's the internal and the external. So the internal is the eye. External is what I'm seeing with the eye, the form. Internal is the nose. External is the odor. Internal is the ear. External is the sound. Internal is the tongue. External is the taste. Internal is the body. External is tactile sensation. Internal is the mind. External are mind objects like thoughts and impulses. It's quite an interesting thing that the Buddha puts thoughts as external, is it not? There's a hint there. But these six senses are from all we can know. Now, because of science, because of technology, we're able to do things like make radar dishes and see things in the universe at different wavelengths of light or sound that we can't experience. And that technology can give us data, but we process that data through the six senses. We can't process it any other way. And of course, humans have these six senses. And then maybe bats and dolphins have something like echolocation. That's a different sense. Humans don't have that sense. So different beings might have different senses. But the concept here is reflecting on the fact that you have a body, and that body has various senses, sense organs, that contact the outside world. And so you reflect on that. You can investigate. This is another thing where you can, anytime that you have time, just reflect on, what is this sound that's arising? What's this smell? Like really observing this process of the six senses, how it interacts with the world, how once we have our senses contact the world, then right after that there's feeling, Vedana. The eye sees something, then there's like or dislike. It's a pleasant or unpleasant sensation to experience what I'm experiencing. And then depending on that pleasant or unpleasant sensation, we crave. We crave to grasp or we crave to push away. So the six senses are a very fertile field for the development of insight, the development of understanding the nature of this mind and body. So it's not a surprise that it would be in the Satipatthanas. Then you have the next two. The last two are a bit more deep, advanced, subtle, not necessarily something that you can directly see right off the bat. The next one is the 7 factors of awakening. You can experience some of these factors and experience and understand them right pretty easily. Some of them are deeper. For instance, the first one, sati, mindfulness. When you are mindful, you see things that you have not seen before, that you could not see before because you weren't paying attention. That brings up a curiosity to do the second factor of awakening, Dhamma Vichaya, investigation of Dhammas. Now you know that there's a reason why I talk about investigating all the time. It's the second factor of awakening, investigating phenomena, investigating, understanding, observing. And then once your curiosity is piqued and you start investigating, what arises? Energy. You're not bored. You're not tired. This is interesting. Oh, I'm investigating this. My preceptor Bhante Ji would always say, if the breath is boring, you're not doing it right. And for years, I didn't really get it. But then eventually I got it. I could understand. Like I had experiences where the breath was perfectly amazing to follow for long periods of time with no issues. It's like, oh yeah, wow, there's the things you can learn from the breath go really, really deep. All right, so then we ended out energy, virya. I like this word because the root of this word is actually what it means is hero or heroic. It's like heroic energy to practice. And then after energy arises, okay, let's see, I can do the Pali here. Sati, Dhammavichya, virya, piti, rapture, pleasant experience, rapture. This is a jhanic or a pre-jhanic experience. Then after piti is pasadi, tranquility, the mind, calm, tranquil. Then when the mind is calm and tranquil, samadhi, one-pointedness of mind, stillness of mind, the pinnacle of which is jhanas. And then after pasadi, or after samadhi, is upekkha, equanimity. And you see this in the jhanic formulation, right? The fourth jhana, there's nothing left but mindfulness and equanimity. So these 7 factors of awakening are very important. You can observe them. You can observe the process. And once you have fully developed and mastered these 7 factors, then you're awakened. And then, of course, the very last aspect of Dhammas. You may have gotten the hint from the question yesterday about what's the difference between the Satipatthana Sutta and the Maggasekha Sutta. The last section of Dhammas is 4 Noble Truths. The 4 Noble Truths, that which, until we are fully awakened, we don't fully know. We don't fully understand. But as our practice progresses, as we move forward down the path, as our right view progresses, then the Noble Eightfold Path and our wisdom, the 4 Noble Truths, and our wisdom about these 4 Noble Truths grows and rises. So you can observe and contemplate the 4 Noble Truths So this is a brief survey of the Dhammanupassana, reflection, contemplation, observation of Dhammas, of principles, various Buddhist principles that the Buddha has put forth. And so we can see now that we've spoken about these four aspects of our experience: the body, feeling, mind, various principles. Now, if you look at the various principles, they will fit in the other Satipatthanas as well, like the six senses. Fits under feeling, fits under body, fits under mind. And the five aggregates, the five hindrances, same. All of these are observed from body, mind, and feeling. And this is why I say that as the practice progresses, you start to observe how everything you're experiencing, it's all happening at once. It's not like, okay, this is just the feeling. This is just the mind. No, it's all happening at once. Whatever experience you have, you can observe the state of your mind. You can observe the state of your body. What's happening in the body? What feelings and sensations are arising? You can observe all of these things. What are you experiencing through the senses? And so Satipatthana, in the beginning, because it seems like it's a lot of words and a lot of avenues, a lot of places to put your mindfulness, it can seem a bit overwhelming, and that's fine. That's okay. I can see that it can be overwhelming. But over time, it's really about fully observing and investigating and understanding what is happening to you and how they're all intertwined. How I said observing thoughts that arise. I can't think that I've seen a thought arise in my mind that is completely, well, I guess no, okay. So I was going to think, I can't think I've seen a thought arise in my mind that is completely divorced from the state of mind. And what just came to my mind then was, if my mind's angry, the thought of, well, let's practice metta. And even that, that thought might not have arisen had my mind not been angry. And so there's this cause and effect, this dependent origination, that this is arising and then that's arising. And then this is ceasing and then that's ceasing. And you can observe that. Let's close out the sutta with the words. We're going to share the screen here. Anyone who develops these four kinds of mindfulness meditation in this way for 7 years can expect one of two results: enlightenment in the present life, or, if there's something left over, non-return. So to be a non-returner, to be born one more time in the divine abodes, and then to become awakened there. Let alone 7 years. Anyone who develops these four kinds of mindfulness meditation in this way for 6 years, 5 years, 4 years, 3 years, 2 years, 1 year, 7 months, 6 months, 5 months, 4 months, 3 months, 2 months, 1 month, a fortnight, let alone a fortnight. Anyone who develops these 4 kinds of mindfulness, fortnight's 2 weeks. Anyone who develops these 4 kinds of mindfulness, meditation in this way for 7 days can expect one of 2 results: enlightenment in this present life, or if there's something left over, non-return. When we would have a week-long retreat at Bhavana, Bhanteji would say sometimes, if you practice diligently, as long as you're awake, by the end of this retreat, you might become awakened. So since this is a weekend retreat, no chance of that. But we see this very, very profound, powerful thing here that the Buddha is saying, that if this is done, if this is practiced strongly, thoroughly, sincerely, devotedly, dedicatedly, for even not that long a period of time, then great results can be expected. The 4 kinds of mindfulness meditation are the path to convergence. They are in order to purify sentient beings, to get past sorrow and crying, to make an end of pain and sadness, to end the cycle of suffering, and to realize extinguishment. That is what I said. This is why I said it. That is what the Buddha said. Satisfied, the mendicants were happy with what the Buddha said. Very beautiful, wonderful, powerful end of the Satipatthana Sutta. I always enjoy reading that. It brings a good feeling and a smile to me. And of course, then there's the, well, Bhante J, you've been practicing this for like at least 10 years. Why aren't you awakened yet? And I could say, well, that's because I wasn't able to do it 24/7, 365 for 7 days. It's quite hard to do that. It's quite hard to be fully and completely mindful all of your waking moments. The only person who could really do that is an arahant. The rest of us, our mind goes here and there, and our ability to be mindful goes up and down, just like everything else. My ability to be mindful has risen. My ability to be mindful has ceased, at least for the time being. All right. So why don't we now do our meditation? Our last meditation together for this weekend. As we have before, set your body up in whatever position works for you. And take some time to start scanning through your body. Pay close attention to your knees and the position of the hips and pelvis. Remember to take your 3 deep breaths before you transition to following the breath. Lay down your burdens and your world. Remember, when you're distracted, acknowledge, let go, and return. Come back to the breath. Every once in a while, check in with the state of your mind. From here on in, as you're following your breath, try to pay attention to hindrances that arise, various distractions that take you away from your breath could be clues to what hindrance is in your mind right now. You can also be aware when the hindrance is not in your mind. Is your mind currently wanting to think about all kinds of pleasant experiences, pleasant food, tastes, touches, smells? Is your mind starting to become tired, losing focus, falling into a dark abyss? Or is your mind quickly jumping from thought to thought, topic to topic? When you get distracted, this time take a little bit of time before going back to the breath to really analyze what is at the root of this distraction. See if you can observe the hindrances, whether they're in your mind or not in your mind. Slowly open your eyes. Come out of the meditation to the external. Let's take a 5-minute break and then we'll come back to close it out. I'll ring the bell again when it's time to come back.